Back for another week, a packed week here on Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky here for episode 230. And Ryan, it is absolutely a stacked week for us here on Inside the Game. I know we talked about we were going to bring some people on for interviews, and we got a lineup today. Alexi Lalas coming up tomorrow. Obviously, as I mentioned, a part of that original World Cup in '94 and a big-time media figure in terms of soccer here in the United States with Fox Sports will be joining us here on Inside the Game. Alexis Ayala on Wednesday has done a lot of games with ESPN, also works with Prep Sports MI. They're huge over on the east side. Has done a lot of stuff in the soccer space. Has actually worked with the National Soccer Network a few different times. And then JP Dellacamera. That'll be really fun on Thursday. He's a legendary voice in this game. He's also done a lot of hockey too, but these are the weeks that we were looking forward to. And yeah, you talk about a stacked lineup, back to back to back to back. It's going to be a good stretch for us here on the show.
Yeah, you didn't even mention the one today. Evan Stockton will be on. You mentioned all of the other ones. Except
that was coming up. That was coming up afterwards. I was gonna tease that one at the very end, but
and then also Tanner will be here every Friday like normal. So let's not forget about our gym bro Tanner over there. Kid's jacked. And it looked like it was an exciting weekend in the Major League Indoor Soccer. But no, it's gonna be great. A lot of World Cup experience, I would say, from a broadcast standpoint and a player standpoint. Yeah. And a broadcast standpoint, because Alexi did both, or does both.
Right.
And then JP, obviously, massive World Cup experience as well on the women's side. But I will say this. I think it's crazy to me that, when I first started getting into the game of soccer, it was like 2010, 2011. I was 7, 8 years old. And, some of these broadcasters that I recall as a 7, 8-year-old, I'll get to speak with this week. And that's really cool. If I were to tell 7-year-old me that, later on in like 15 years, you'd be talking to some of these figures, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's fun when you get to actually be around them because you realize that they're just people too. They're just folks, and so it makes it that much easier. Like I remember my first year in West Michigan, doing my internship with the Whitecaps. Lance Parrish was our manager. And that didn't mean a whole lot to me. It means a whole lot to your father and his generation and anybody who came before you, because they obviously got to see Lance play and they got to see Lance win a World Series, back in the 80s. So it didn't really hit the same way with me. But you get around them, you start talking to them, you start realizing, oh, they're just people too. They just so happen to have a gift, whether that be in the broadcast booth or whether that be on the field. And obviously, Alexi and JP Dellacamera, I think, they're going to give us a better idea of what this World Cup is actually going to mean for the United States. And that's, we can speculate all we want. I know we've talked about a lot about what it should mean, what the impact should be, what we want to see out of it. But those two obviously have their finger on the pulse of everything that's going on there. So all that to be said, keep it locked here on Inside the Game as my co-host mentioned, Evan Stockton coming up later on here on the show, broadcaster for ESPN. He has a really cool story. Got into ESPN, the voice of Western Michigan athletics, does a lot of their sports, including their college basketball. I was down there last year getting to hang out with him a little bit. I know that doesn't sit well with Ryan, so we'll get a little bit of that rivalry chatter coming up later on today. But Ryan, you've been watching any of the Olympics?
Just hockey.
Just hockey?
Yeah, I don't really do any of the winter stuff. It's
do people actually...
To be honest,
people actually enjoy watching like curling?
I don't. The only thing I found interesting about the Winter Olympics was Pulisic's been at some of the events because it's in Milan, and he's done a couple interviews.
Oh, it's fair.
That's really been about it. But to be honest with you, Nate, the only thing I watch in the Winter Olympics is hockey. Sorry, I'm editing some of Evan's photos right now. So.
No, I saw you drop. Yeah, I saw you drop that to you. But no, the obviously, the United States men's and United States women's national teams both undefeated at the Olympics right now. As we head into the medaling round for the U.S., it looks as if the United States is going to take on Sweden in the second round if Sweden's able to advance. So that's a tough opening draw for the U.S. men's national team because I would put Sweden right up there in that echelon of 1, 2, and 3. I got to take a look.
Are all of them called U.S. men's national team?
Oh yeah, I mean, if
Okay.
they're men's national teams, then yeah, I guess U.S. men's hockey national team. So
Because
there's a lot of
it's weird
U.S. men's national hockey team,
because it's always everyone talks
USMNHT.
USMNT with soccer, so I just was curious how that all works. Oh,
It's true.
also the
Yeah.
Kachuk brothers are so funny, man. I love those guys. With them chirping Leon Draisaitl yesterday, I thought that was one of the best chirps uh you could use, and it goes, Leon,
Always a
you're always the
bridesmaid, never a
bride, never
bride.
the bridesmaid, and then it
Yep.
quickly go. All you hear is "f you," and then the camera immediately cuts out. But no,
Yep.
those guys are awesome.
Yep. They're just badass little kids. Like that's every time I see them play, that's just how they move. That's just how they go about their business. Like they're edgy. They'll get up in you. But then you have also on the other side, you got guys like Austin Matthews, who I think just like as a captain just handles his business and he's cool and he's calm and it's a real contrast of personalities, which is I think what makes this U.S. men's national team, at least this iteration of the national team, the most fun that I've ever seen. Now, don't get me wrong, like in the 2010s and whatever, like they had some good squads. Like watching, like Brendan Miller and his 1.3 goals against average or whatever the hell it was in the Olympics, and obviously Patrick Kane and who else am I thinking of? Kessler. I mean, they had a lot of good guys that
TJ Oshie.
TJ Oshie. He was 2014, but yes, OG Oshie was also great too.
Sochi.
He's interesting on
TJ
TV.
Sochi.
Have you been watching him on TV? He's interesting. I don't know if he's comfortable in that space, but he's just like yeah. But anyways, so yeah, they're doing really well. But yeah, it looks like we might get Sweden right out of the gate in the knockout stages. So it might get interesting really quickly here. But moving into topic number one on the show today, as we get into our number one, I know you're working on some stuff over there from Evan Stockton, but one of the things that we focused on and one of the topics that we continually bring up on the show here is, and it's something that you wanted to talk about. When does the United States finally get respect in the sport of soccer? When does that finally become something that we can look at and be like, you know what, the world looks at the U.S. and respects exactly what it is that we're doing in this game? And I think the only way that we do that, to be completely honest with you, Ryan, is we have to compete for a World Cup. And here's why. Because we don't get to face some of the superpowers in the world on a regular basis. It's not a part of something that we don't get to see them all the time. We don't get to see them every year. We obviously talk about CONCACAF, the organization that the U.S. belongs in, and it is perfectly crafted and created, and even more so now with the automatic bids, for United States success. The Gold Cup, any other cup within CONCACAF, any other competition within that realm, we should dominate. There should be no question in my mind or anybody else's mind, and that's not arrogance. That's just the truth. I mean, outside of Mexico and obviously Panama, who's been our Achilles heel, I don't really know any other countries in CONCACAF, with the exception of on again, off again Canada, who's really going to give the United States any sort of issues. So what does that leave us with? Well, that leaves us with the big European countries. That leaves us with England, in Spain, in France, and these other sides that, frankly, we're only going to see maybe a couple of times every 4 years. And those couple of times, or at least one of those times, is probably going to be in the World Cup. And so because of this, we're not going to be able to get through to them with the players that we're sending over there. Because if we're going to make a comparison to another sport, the sport that I immediately think of is the National Basketball Association, right? You had this influx of players coming over, one player by one player, little bit by little bit, starting to break into the league, starting to make an impact. But it really wasn't something that we as the United States as a country really respected. Like our best is still better than anybody else's best comfortably, easily. And you could say that in the sport of soccer. So when we talk about 25 players in top flight leagues, that doesn't really matter all that much to change the reputation or the conversation around American players. Where the respect for what the international community could do in the sport of basketball was when they started beating the U.S. in world championships, or they started beating the US in the Olympics. And the teams that they were able to put together were better than our I would say our best, but even in that situation sometimes we weren't sending our best. But this year when I watched, or not this year, but the last Summer Olympics a couple of years ago, we put together the best collection of players that we had here in the US to go to Paris and play. Now, part of that is because it was Paris, but the other part of it was because we understood that the world is caught up. France is caught up, Serbia has caught up, these other countries have caught up. And if we don't put our best foot forward, we're going to get embarrassed on the biggest stage. We don't strike that fear into the hearts of any of the soccer powerhouses in the world. I don't think we strike that fear into England or France or Germany.
But
I don't
England
think
hasn't
any of
beaten
them are
us.
really game planning or thinking about the United States in the way of we have to worry about those guys. Yeah, individually speaking, we are advancing and we're producing and we're sending younger players over there. I just saw a stat on Noah Kai Banks and how great he's been in his introduction to the European ranks. We're doing it on the individual scale. In the U17, we're running everybody off the field. But until we can threaten these guys, and by these guys, you know exactly the countries I'm referring to, until we can actually threaten them at the highest level, and that means like World Cup or any other competition where we face them head to head, where their best is against our best and it's a knockout game, that is the only moment where you can force them to respect you. That's where they have to respect you. But all the individual accomplishments at this point, well, they're just going to pass it off as, oh, okay, well, we've been here. Welcome to the party. Finally, thanks for joining. Only took you 3 decades to finally build to a point to where you can consistently have players over here, and not even in necessarily the top leagues like the Premier League, but still top flight leagues. But anyways, I think getting close to a World Cup, beating a top end side, competing for a World Cup, just getting close has to be the one thing that has to happen, because individual accomplishments are just whatever. Unless we actually threaten them on the world stage, I don't see how they could actually come to respect us.
There's 2 competitions where we'll earn respect. The World Cup and Copa America. Those are the only 2 where we will earn
Yeah.
respect from the world, because we'd be playing up against the Argentinas, the Brazils, and as much as how good Europe is at soccer, South America is very good too. And I think
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah,
of
that's fair. We focus a lot on Europe, but South America, you're right. We can't forget them in all this.
yeah, and I'll just say that England hasn't beaten us, so there's no reason for them to, like, they can't respect us because they can't beat us. So as much as we can say, "Oh, England, we don't strike the fear in them," well, when we look in the last 2 meetings in the World Cup, they haven't beaten us, and they didn't look that good in either one. So England can't really move that. But for soccer, it's simply these 2 instances. Can you win in Copa America, and can you win in the World Cup? We've proven so far that we can. And if we do well in either one of those competitions, i.e., getting to a semifinal and actually competing in it, not getting to a semifinal and Messi just rips us a new one and we lose 4-0 to Argentina in the Copa America
Yeah.
semifinal.
Right.
That's another reason why Copa America doesn't want the United States or Mexico in it, because they actually kind of make a little bit of noise in it and they don't actually like do anything, but they're scared for a little bit.
Yeah.
And can we not get embarrassed in the round of 16 like we have against the Netherlands, and then, to be honest, quite frankly, Belgium, because we got embarrassed. If it wasn't for Tim Howard, we would have
Yeah.
lost that game probably 4 or 5-0. So can we compete in
Yep.
those situations? And we're seeing Poch actually set up and schedule games against the bigger sides, whether those sides, i.e., Germany, Belgium, and Portugal, want to bring their best players. That's up to them. But you're seeing Poch actually schedule that stuff. You're seeing U.S. Soccer actually schedule these types of games. And it's great, because at some point
Yeah.
you eventually have to play in these big games against these big teams. And can we just compete against those 2? And back to your basketball example, we brought the Redeem team, and they still struggled against the world. So
Yeah.
there's that. The U.S. teams, there's only one team where that just really dominated throughout the whole thing, and that was
Well,
the
it
Dream
started
Team.
with the Dream Team, but the rapidly caught up after that. So yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the reason why we brought the Redeem Team is it's because the world caught up.
And for basketball, there's only one nation that's caught up to us, and that's France. Serbia will fall off once Jokic gets old, just like Spain fell off, just like Argentina fell off. There's only one nation that is caught up to us, and that's France. That's it.
Serbia was avoiding one like 15-point run away from beating us in
But
the
I'm
Olympics,
saying
Ryan.
they have not caught up to us because there's one player. They have one player. When I start seeing 6 Jokic's, 7 Jokic type players, I'll say it. In the early
But they were this
2010s,
close to beating us.
in the early
They were this
2010s,
close.
Spain was thought as this world power. Australia was thought as this world power.
Spain is still very good.
No, they're not. Spain is not good at basketball. Who's their best player from Spain? Juan Hernangomez? The guy from the Adam Sandler movie? No. Spain sucks. What happened to Argentina after Manu left? Nothing. What has Spain done after the Gasols left? Nothing. There's only one nation that's caught up to us, and it's France. Sure, well, Serbia played us tight, for sure. And then guess what they did? They started barking and chirping, and guess what? They got their asses handed to
Oh,
them.
they
And
choked.
the coaches and the
Yeah,
basketball
they
coach,
choked.
the basketball coach even said that soccer is still the main priority in that country. And he said in the documentary he's scared about what it looks like after Jokic. And they should, because they don't have anybody. So once they start producing multiple Jokic's, then sure, I will respect Serbia in the game of basketball.
But the truth,
only
but
country I
we
respect is France in basketball.
you don't respect Serbia at all.
They produce one MVP. That's it.
The dude's the best player in the world, Ryan.
The whole
You have Vucevic, you have Bogdanovic. They have it. Serbia has a
Vucevic
rich
wasn't even in
culture
the
of
thing.
basketball there. Back when it was Bulgaria, they were winning. They were winning gold medals.
But-
Like back when it was
but
the
they
Soviet
have
Union,
one
they were
player.
still winning gold medals.
They have a player.
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is that there's a rich history of basketball there. I understand it's probably not the priority. Maybe it's not the number one sport. That's fair, but they were this close to beating us in the Olympics. Like if they don't let up that just unbelievable run at the end, if KD
But
doesn't
did they
just
beat
go
us?
absolutely nuclear.
Did they
No,
beat
because
us?
we have Kevin Durant. That's the
they
point. I
beat
know,
us?
like we still have the best players in the world, but I'm not going to disrespect Serbia. I still think they've caught up, them and France. But
France is the only one because they're the ones that have proven that they can develop and produce talent at a high clip. Serbia doesn't. Outside of Jokic and Bogdanovic, can you name one other Serbian basketball player?
Vucevic.
Vucevic was not on it. Was Vucevic hurt last year because he didn't play?
I don't know. He's Serbian.
Because he didn't play in the Olympics. All right. So outside of those 3, could you name another one?
Micic.
Who's
Charlotte
that?
Hornets guard. He's a guard for the Hornets.
Exactly. No one knows who he is, so he's a nobody in the NBA. The point is they can't produce talent at a high clip like U.S. and France can. France is the only nation that will actually catch up to them. Once Jokic is done, Serbia is going to do exactly what Argentina and France and Spain did. But back to our point of soccer, we're getting totally off topic on this. To respect them, to get respect from everybody else because, yeah, we're proven on the individual standpoint, and we have a top 15 winger in the world. No, not top 15. I'd put him just outside top 10. Top 11, 10, 9, one of those 3. Yeah, we can do it at a individual level, but can we do it as a team? We've proven we can hang with people. We've proven that before. We've proven we can hang with the Englands, the Germanys, the Portugals. We've done it. We've hung with them.
Mm-hmm.
Can we actually beat them in the biggest stage? And there's only 2 competitions where this can work. Copa America, and I'm not talking about beating Ecuador like we have. I'm not talking about beating Colombia. You have to beat the big boys, i.e. Argentina, Brazil. You beat one of them. I mean, heck, we've even beat Spain before in the Confederations Cup when they were like prime Spain. So we've done it. We've beaten teams. But we have to. Heck, Costa Rica even made a quarterfinal in the World Cup. We have to do it consistently. We have to do it almost all the time. And we actually have to schedule these teams in our international friendlies a lot more often. And maybe we can somehow create the U.S. would be the team to create a competition with 4 other nations across the world and 3 European sides to play in a competition because we're the United States. We would do that and actually compete against them. But every international friendly, you've got to schedule some of the best in the world. And I get it. You have to play in CONCACAF. We're almost like Gonzaga in a way, but not as good. But it's like you have to play CONCACAF teams because you have to. Like, they're in your region. You eventually have to qualify for stuff. But once we get to Copa America, once we get to the World Cup, you got to make some noise in it. You've got to compete. You can't get blown out 4-0 like you did in 2016. You can't do that to Argentina. You can't. You got to win stuff. And we're doing it on an individual level at the club level because like we have the best player in Serie A. Pulisic is the best player in Serie A. I know people don't like that, and we have one of the best defenders in the Bundesliga. I wouldn't say Chris Richards is one of the best defenders in the Prem, but he's a serviceable center back, I would say. Wes McKennie,
Yeah.
best player on Juventus. So for sure, we're doing it at individual level, but can we combine it all together?
Yeah. And can we threaten them at the highest level? I mean, that's where it really all begins in my mind. And can you have a moment that is special? Not just good enough, not just, hey, we got here, we're satisfied, like we hit our ceiling, we made it to the knockout stages. Like, can you have a special run? And it might only take one to like actually convince people like, oh, okay, this machine that we're creating is working.
Not one. You gotta do it multiple times because Costa Rica.
You don't think a special run in the World Cup would help at least bolster it in the right direction? I'm not just saying it's one and done. You don't have any success beyond that point. I'm just saying that's where it starts. Right. This is where it begins.
With one, and you get some eyebrows raised for sure. But you need to do it time and time again. Oh,
Costa
Rica has gotten to a quarterfinals in modern day soccer, and look at them. They fall. We're talking about a generation, and after that generation of core players falls off, that's exactly what Costa Rica has happened. They had their core group of players, and after 2014 and in 2018, now no one ever talks about it. Well,
you can't compare the depth of these countries to what we have in the United States. I mean, it's not – I don't even think it's comparable, but I don't know. The basketball example, I mean, we get smacked around at the World Cup, but, we bring the best of the best to the Olympics, and – we squeak by, we win gold, but I'm just saying, I don't know. The depth in a lot of these places, you're right. But it's not the same. But they're dealing with the same issue that we deal with in the soccer conversation, that again, it's just not the most relevant sport in their country. And so you're just not pulling nearly as many numbers.
And for
soccer, Canada, it's hockey.
I think to get the ultimate respect from the rest of the world is we're starting to see it shift a little bit, but you have to have players continue to compete at the highest level, in the highest club level, like we're seeing with the Pulisic and McKennie, Chris Richards, Tyler Adams, all those guys. That's the start. But I think you have to have 3 World Cups where you're making a quarterfinal plus. And I ultimately think it's that. And in a Copa America, you got to get to a final. And look, they're behind the 8 ball as it was anyway after everything that has happened in our world's history, and soccer just was not the focal point. But you've got to compete. And in those games, you can't lose 4-0. You can't lose 3-0. You can't lose like that. You can't get dominated. But if you compete, get to a couple quarterfinals, get to a final in the Copa America, then we'll have that conversation of do they finally get that respect.
Yeah, I think once the conversation shifts from we just hope and pray and fingers crossed that we're going to do something good to we expect something of this national team, that's when maybe the world is going to maybe change their minds about the way that they look at the U.S. men's national team. But let's talk about Bayern Munich, FC Bayern, rather, summer soccer camps. They're a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, FC Bayern camps delivered the elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. And right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. And it's BayernNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com. Back in live and inside the game, Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky, Evan Stockton will be joining us here in a little bit on Inside the Game, broadcaster for ESPN, so the voice of Western Michigan Athletics. Again, got to go down and watch them play Georgia Southern last year. They got ran off the floor, but it was still a fun experience being inside that gym. It's the only time I've been inside that gym at Western, which is kind of crazy because I'm only 45 minutes down the road, but they got some cool facilities over there, Ryan, don't they?
Yeah, for
got
sure.
some really nice facilities. That basketball stadium's really cool.
Oh,
Hockey team right now is third in the country. They're top 5 in the country, I think, right now. I think that's what it is. Come on, I'm just trying to get you to say one nice thing.
My aunt
just one nice thing.
There you go.
Hey, there you go. Aunt who? What's her name?
Aunt Debbie and my Aunt Shell went there. So there you go. There you go.
So we get 2 horns.
No, I don't get a horn for that. It's Western.
Come on, give me 2 horns.
All right, next topic.
He's gonna kill me. European sports atmospheres better than in the United States. I saw this on social media a couple of times, and it's a funny joke. And I do appreciate the fact that people that people really get into that, because you see the flares, you see the choreographed celebrations. I talked about my buddy Thiago da Silva, and not even necessarily Europe, I guess you could say South America too. And he was showing me videos of the professional team that they had from where he was in Brazil. He's a soccer player at Bethel, but he grew up in Brazil, and he showed me videos of the team that they have there and what the supporter section does. And again, they choreograph celebrations. They have flares. They have different things that they do. It is constantly on your feet. It is constantly jumping around. There are no distractions. They're always watching the game. They're always singing. It's the game itself is why people are there. And like I talked about with you before, like my experience of going to that rugby match, even in Chicago, a lot of people that were there were not from the United States. And you could tell that the entire focus was on what was on the field. Yeah, of course there was food and drink, but you didn't have carnival rides. You didn't have everything else going on outside of the experience. The experience was the game. It was what was in front of you. And so there's a different level of passion. There's a different level of energy. But before I kind of dive into this and dissect this, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it, Ryan, because I would agree in some senses, but not in every sense. And I'll get into that here in a second. But what says you about this?
They're just better. European fans are more passionate about their teams. They're more passionate about their sports than American fans are. And that is just a fact. And if you have an issue with it, I don't care. Like when you have NBA media heads going to European basketball games and they come out after the game, they're like, wow, that's the greatest basketball atmosphere I've ever been in. And they have done Game 7s of NBA Finals, and they have done national championships in college basketball, which, again, is still the stupidest thing. The Final Four is the stupidest venue in all of American sports, I digress.
Yeah.
But, no, they're just better. Are they crazier? Yes. Is it just
they drink a little bit more?
Huh?
They drink a little bit more? Probably.
Probably not. I mean, look at football Sundays and football Saturdays. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far, but it's just better. And the reason I brought this up was I literally watched a regular season Scottish Premiership game with Celtic versus whatever one of the worst teams in the league was, and Celtic needed 3 points, and they get it in the 90-plus 6th minute or something, and the players just go run into the stands with the fans, and the whole place just goes bonanzas, and it's unbelievable. There's a Hail Mary in football in the NFL, and it's just like, that's it. Like, no one rushes the field. They don't jump into the stands. It's just, oh, my gosh, hey, we just want a Hail Mary, all this fun stuff. Yeah, for sure. But, like, there's no excitement. There's no – I shouldn't say there's no excitement. But I think the fans are way more passionate. The flares, you could say it's dangerous or not, but that is just an overall better atmosphere. And when you go to an American sporting event, you're there to just be there and to post on your Instagram story, oh, I was at the game. You're there for everything else. And you're not, like, sometimes you're not glued in to the game. I was at a top 5 Michigan versus Nebraska basketball matchup, and it was loud once after, like, 10 minutes into the game, and once we get into the second half, it got loud. But it was quiet for the most part, and the people around me while the game's going on, it's like, oh, my God, did you see this photo on Facebook? Did you see so-and-so post this? Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Guys, there's a top 5 basketball matchup in front of you. This could help decide the Big Ten championship. But no, we're too busy about,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're on Facebook. Did you see what little Susie's doing right now? It's her birthday. No, it's stupid. American sporting atmospheres suck compared to a damn European soccer game or European basketball because they're there. They live and die with their teams. Some people live and die with their teams in America, but a good chunk don't. They are there they're there for all the extra stuff rather than just cheering on their team. There's no crazy chance. Like if I was a U.S. hockey fan yesterday, I would sit there and be like, 2 world wars. I'd chant that the whole way. I'd chant 2 world wars to Germany. But you know what? No one did. Because U.S., they don't have any chance. They don't do anything cool like that. No. American soccer, or American fans in general, I'm talking college football, I'm talking college basketball, I'm talking NFL, NBA, everything else, it is nowhere near European.
Yeah, the thing that always surprises me when I love watching reaction videos, especially with Europeans watching American sports with certain venues and certain things that are going on. And the thing that makes it hard for me when I look at this conversation, and I do think you're right in a lot of ways, a ton of ways, more ways than one. And when you compare the professional experiences of both sides, I would absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of that doesn't necessarily have to do with, as Americans, we might be a little overweight, a little short attention spans. So sometimes it makes it hard for people to be locked into sporting events for forever. But what I'll say more than that is I feel like in a lot of venues, if we're comparing, again, pro to pro, right, not including college in this conversation quite yet, I feel like a lot of the passionate fans, the people who might be the ones who would want to support to the level that is and bring the energy and be loud and watch the game, because even people, a lot of people have said this, especially those who didn't grow up in the social media generation, that American fans and American crowds used to be a lot different. And I think it's because we've gotten into this age to where we're all just so distracted now to where it's just not as much energy. But you've also priced a lot of people out of being able to go to a lot of games
Ticket
throughout the
prices
course
are still
of the
a big issue over there.
I get it, but you can't really compare economic situations, so that's something that's really hard. Is I do think there is a crop of passionate fans. I know people that watch every single game, follow every single thing. They're just as intense as you or I are, but they can't afford to go consistently. So I think that's another thing. But the other thing that I think is interesting to consider is they don't have like college athletics. Maybe they do, but it's not, it's either club or it's pro in Europe. They don't have this
pro.
High school, right? Okay, so they don't really have college athletics, right? So you don't really have the same pipeline that you do in the United States of high school to college to pro. So everybody is wrapped up in their professional team, because even if you look in the South in the United States, like, they don't care about pros all that much. They care so much about their colleges. Like, if you go to a baseball game in the South in the summer, like Coastal Carolina and Clemson, people will drive from all over Timbuktu to come see the game. I mean, it will be overflowing, and there'll be chants, and it'll be loud, and this is a baseball game. But the reason why is because that's really all they have. I mean, you have Atlanta, sure, but like, why do I care about Atlanta if I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? So I think when you talk about the dynamics of
Georgia and Atlanta's in that,
well,
they're
true,
nut jobs.
But like, exactly, and look
Michigan
at their game
fans aren't
days.
Nut
And
jobs?
look at
They got all 4 pro teams here. Michigan State's
well,
not nut jobs.
They
Ohio
are
State's
nut jobs. But what I'm saying is you only have really the pro teams that you're cheering for in Europe. So everybody is wrapped up in what is the pro side doing. You don't have college. You don't really have the high school, or as big as that is. And so when these Europeans watch the videos of, like, let's say like Enter Sandman or Virginia Tech walking into their stadium, they're like, this is college? Like, all of these people screaming, jumping, music blaring, like this is college athletics?
It's
I
not
mean,
pro
SEC
athletics.
game days, like entire cities shut down in Texas, entire towns shut down for high school football.
They
So
have
I
pro teams in
think
Texas.
college, I would argue, you might be off a little bit there. Now, a general NBA Wednesday night game where the Magic are taking on the Suns, yeah, it's going to be lame. There's not going to be people jumping around. It's going to be music while they're playing. It's going to sound like the YMCA. And the truth is like if you sit close enough to the court, like you're going to hear everything. That's why courtside tickets are awesome in the NBA because no, like you're going to hear every squeaker sneak. You're going to hear everything. College, I would push back a little bit on this far and away, no doubt about it. It's
It
all
still
better
is
because
over
it
college.
might be
100%.
across the board. It might be, but I don't know, man. I think there are certain matchups and venues and in areas of the country where I would challenge that belief. I would challenge that belief a little bit, where it's not as clear cut, in my
That's
opinion.
Then why have American media outlets said the only thing that somewhat comes close to European soccer, European sports is some college football venues. Not all. Like, yeah, college athletics is the most passionate stuff here in America, but it still doesn't come close to anything that Europe does. Not a chance. Doesn't come close at
Mm.
all. And to your point of, these states don't have this, these states don't have pro teams. Michigan's got 4. Michigan and Michigan State fans are nut jobs. Ohio's got 5 or 6 pro teams. They're nut jobs. You go over to what's the Pennsylvania, Penn State. Isn't that Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's all in that. Penn State fans are,
But
according to
you're
my
saying they're not as passionate as European fans.
I'm
That's the
saying
point that's
the
the point that you're
atmosphere.
making.
The atmospheres are better. The atmospheres, and that
Mm.
goes with passion. It's 1,000% better than, because if we're being honest, if I'm an Ohio State fan and Michigan comes into town this year, which they do, if that's Europe, you bet your ass there's a ton of Sharon Moore chants going on. You bet your ass there is, but there won't, because they don't do that. If that's in Europe, all that stuff's going on. You have the owners of certain teams have like a little issue, and all of a sudden the opposing fans go in on it with chants. Happens all the time. Have we heard about the Kitty family? Has anyone heard about that? I mean, I can't say what that chant is, but you can go search that one up on your own about the Kitty family. They'll search that one up for you. And that's what I'm talking about. Like if I'm on Ohio, if I'm any opposing fan, I'm making a Sharon Moore chant, but they won't. They won't do it. They're not clever enough to do that. They don't do that. Yeah, they're very passionate about their schools and everything, but that doesn't come that is nowhere near anything that happens in Europe. Not a chance. And I will say this about the American fan, because European fans have said this, and when they come to America to watch their soccer teams in the tours or whatever, they're like, or they've actually gone to the Boston Garden too to watch Celtics playoff basketball, and they go, yeah, everything, all their chants and everything, it's like programmed. We come up with our own stuff. Defense, like that happens. Like, yeah, every once in a while you see the free throw line, they might hear something. You might hear something snarky, but outside of that, everything is programmed in order. The music that comes in, Seven Nation Army, that's all programmed. No one comes up with that on their own. Kansas was the only one that I've actually seen come up with their stuff on their own last week against Arizona. That's the only time. U.S. fans in general, it's all programmed stuff. They don't come up with anything on their own. Whatever the mic tells them to do, whatever the PA says or whatever the music tells you to do, that's what they do. They don't come up with their own stuff. You go over to Europe, the PA announcer just does his job. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to say defense. It's third down. Like that does everything's programmed in America. It's not in Europe. Just go out there and you just start throwing F-bombs left and right, and you start doing all these other stuff left and right. Like it just happens. And that's why away section fans have to be escorted in to their proper section in the corner because of what can happen if they intertwine with each other on a match day and after a couple drinks.
Yeah, it's wild for sure. And I do think fan engagement has changed in the United States quite a bit over the years too. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but no, I agree that they are passionate, and for the majority, for the most part, you are correct. You are correct. is saying I think there's certain places where there's a little bit of pushback with that. And the truth is like I can't speak on all of it just simply because I haven't been there. I've only seen what I've seen on TV. I think about like a Penn State whiteout. Like it looks sick, it sounds loud. I mean, the truth is that yeah, I mean, like literally, you can't hear anything, in an environment like that. I mean, I knew someone who went to like the first Michigan night game against Notre Dame, and he's like, you could not hear anything. It was the loudest environment he's ever been in his life. And so I need to be in some of these environments to really understand it. But trust me, like the charging the field, the riots, all that stuff, it just doesn't, you're right. That stuff doesn't happen. But also those rivalries go a lot deeper too, especially on the international side. And those club rivalries go a lot deeper because they've been around for that much longer.
College football rivalries are the same age as a majority of those. And I will also say this, I forgot to mention this because this is the soccer portion. The U.S. soccer they have their little student section leaders at the bottom. We get clowned on that all the time because we need a leader. This also goes back into my programming point. We need a leader to promote all these chants and to do all these chants. We get clowned for that on a daily basis, and you bet your ass we're gonna get clowned for that when the World Cup comes around because they're gonna see everyone is gonna see it on display. They're like, "What the heck is all of this?" It's a clown show when you have to have here we go, U.S. Here we go. Like that's like no, you don't. If you need 3 grown men at the bottom doing a megaphone to these people to get people going on chants. I mean, that's just lame, my man. Or what's my favorite one? The Seattle one. Fight and win for Seattle. We look like cornballs when we do that. You go to Europe and it is just F this, F that right when you get there. And then the fans go back and forth with chants. You don't need someone at the bottom with a megaphone. Yeah, you might have a couple people just banging a drum. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. Everyone just bangs drums. But you don't have people at the bottom as a student section leader. A U.S. fan, it's not soccer, the U.S. sports fan in general is programmed to do everything. You have to, whatever the student section leader says, we have to do that. Or whatever the PA mic says, we have to do that. No. You go to Europe, it's F this, F that. And if you have a slight scandal, if that Sharon Moore thing happens, there's some snarky chant that goes on, and you better have thick skin about it.
They can swear on air in Germany.
They can? That makes sense.
Yeah, you can. Yep. So maybe we switch that around a little bit. JT, let's get on it. No, I'm kidding. We swear sometimes on this show. We try to keep it as clean as possible, though. Let's take a step aside here on Inside the Game. We come back talking about conference realignment in college, maybe going back to what it was outside of the sport of football. Oh, you want to talk about him instead?
This is the soccer
talk about
part.
Eric Wynalda.
This is the soccer part. Why wouldn't we talk about
Let's talk about Eric Wynalda.
Soccer part?
Because you're talking about conference realignment outside of football.
Yeah, it's
so I'm assuming soccer would be a part of that.
It's going to turn into like all the other sports. It's not just football. So let's go Wynalda next.
Sounds good. When we come back, here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Inside the Game, hour number 1 here with Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky. Again, expecting to talk with Evan Stockton coming up here. ESPN voice of Western Michigan Athletics. Also a good friend of the show, and he's done some work here with the National Soccer Network. But Ryan, diving into our final topic here in hour number 1 of our show. We're going to have a former U.S. men's national team player joining us tomorrow. What's going on?
Shout out MMA Yoda in the chat. He says, great content. He says, South American fans are the best. Look at Boca Juniors versus Bayern Munich. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I will definitely watch it. You guys are great down there
Uh,
in South America. Not Boca Juniors.
Brazil
The
is
one with
awesome,
the
man.
River
Brazil's
Plate?
where the game
They're very
lives and
good, too.
breathes. Yeah.
I literally
No, Brazil
watched,
is
Nate, I literally watched a video of a Brazil soccer team. I think it was Brazil, somewhere in South America, where the PA announcer goes over while the game's going on, or during halftime of a game, and he goes, "Everyone, please turn your flashlights on. We're gonna turn the lights off." And everyone's like, "This is weird." And he goes, "Let's take a moment of silence that are to recognize that whoever their arch rivals were just got relegated to a league below." And he goes, "So and so just got relegated. They just lost this game. Let's please have a moment of silence for them." And then the whole place just erupts. It's so awesome.
That's great.
And even one of the best concert venues.
That's awesome.
At one of those Argentina places. That's one of the best concert venues and performers have said they like to go is somewhere in Argentina. I forget where.
Yeah.
But no, it's unbelievable what it is down there. It just feels like European and South American fans are just there for they're there for the game. They're there to do the best they can to root their team on to win a game.
Oh yeah.
Americans are there for the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the concessions.
You're 100% correct. Yeah, it's about the status of it all. And I naturally, and maybe this is just how I am, I'm not good at I suck at taking pictures. Pull out your camera and take a picture. I'm just, in a lot of ways, I'm just kind of living in the moment. I just like being there. I just like being in the moment, experiencing it for what it is. But not a lot of people are not wired that way. The first reaction is take a picture, post it, caption it at the game, whatever it is. And so, no, that is it. My dad even tells me stories about, the minor league hockey team here in Grand Rapids, the Griffins. They used to be the Grand Rapids Owls. They would play their games at what used to be called the Deltaplex over on the west side of town. And he was like, those games got rowdy, man. They got rowdy. They got loud. They got, even belligerent at times. But again, you weren't dealing with a generation where you had a phone in your pocket, which is the ultimate distraction. And it's all about status. It's all about the gram now. It's all about all that other stuff. But I don't know. We're getting into our final topic here in hour number 1. Eric Wynalda in his comments on Tim Weah the other day. Do you have the video, or do you have a video, or just talking about what he said? Okay, so he responded to what Tim Weah had to say about the ticket prices, claimed that it was, quote, political, quote, shut up and put your hand on your chest and play the game, a.k.a. just to shut up and dribble. And Mauricio Pochettino actually had a response not long after Tim Weah made his comments, saying that players should not comment on ticket prices or matters of that regard, that players only should play. When I responded to this comment yesterday, the number one thing that I focused on was there is nothing in my mind that is even relatively political about mentioning the fact that ticket prices are ridiculous. There's a reason why FIFA went out of their way to make at least 1,000 tickets per game just $60. There's a reason why FIFA did something like that as a kind gesture to the good people who are going to World Cup games, to be able to provide some sort of affordability to the fans that actually want to come experience a tournament that only happens every 4 years, and one that apparently only comes to our shores once every 3 decades. And so, of course, people are going to be upset about ticket prices. And so what he said in no way, shape, or form was political whatsoever. If you think that's bad, you should look at some of the other professional leagues in the United States when it comes to all that stuff. Simply mentioning that ticket prices are too expensive fails to come even close to qualifying as, quote, political. The other part of this is too, and this is when it's hard for me, Ryan, when I look at former players speak on current players. I want my guys, or at least the guys that are representing my country, to not be afraid to get in front of the microphone or in front of the camera and be like, hey, when they see that something is BS, say that it's BS. I don't expect Mauricio Pochettino to understand that, right? Because he's not from that school of thought. He's from Argentina, right? But here in the United States, we are such a player-driven economy with where our sports is right now and where all of our professional leagues are right now. And Tim Weah obviously is an American. He's born here. He's from here and realizes that they're coming here to play. Being able to step up and be like, hey, this is BS, FIFA, switch your stuff around, figure it out. Why is this so expensive? Why is it that most normal people can't afford these tickets? I'm okay with it. To be completely frank with you, if he said anything else beyond that, or if he went any deeper on it, then whatever. But all he's doing is mentioning the fact that ticket prices are too expensive. But it feels a little bit like the players maybe of that generation, sometimes you're not doing us any good by ripping on current players about issues like this. We are 4 months out from the biggest tournament in the history of soccer in the United States, and your decision is, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tee off on one of their key players, and I'm going to rip him a new one and tell him to shut up and dribble, and that he shouldn't be talking about issues like that. Like, it's weird for me to look at a former player, even if you're trying to cling to a level of relevance in the media to where you feel like you need to make a bold take, to go after one of our guys for something as minuscule as that, again, 4 months out from the biggest tournament in the world and in our nation's history, is a very weird choice. That is a very, very weird choice, and it's one that I feel like was made for clicks and attention, and not necessarily because there was actually a bigger point to be made here. I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous.
So I actually went and watched the video, and what the issue was, what Eric Wynalda's issue was, is what everyone's issue is with this current men's national team is, and quite frankly, for the last decade or so, they're a little bit soft as a team. What were the teams prior to 2014, that 2018 era, before 2018, what was the U.S. men's national team known for? Physical, rugged, difficult to play with. We've lost that since 2014, and we got results against Portugal, against Germany, against Ghana. We got results, and that's what their issues is. And what does that era see as weak and soft? When you go out there and start saying that there's no issue that there's World Cup ticket issues. There's a lot of issues with the World Cup, and there was a headline today that I read that people are a little bit worried about the juice coming into this World Cup, that there's not as many tickets sold. Well, that's probably because they're expensive, but don't kid yourself that there's not ticket issues over in Europe. That's been a constant theme the last decade or so. There's constantly been that, and people have talked about going over to Europe, it's the tourists instead of the diehard fans there. That's why fans are really upset. And I don't think Tim Weah influenced the World Cup to say, let's give them $1,060 tickets. He didn't influence that at all. If Messi says that, maybe, but Weah didn't influence that at all. But the issue is they don't like that these players come out in the media and whine and complain all the time, because there's certain players that don't do that. Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, they come out, they tell you how it is, and they tell you that they're ready to go. Weah and Pulisic specifically have whined and complained a lot. And what Wynalda was getting at is he liked what Pochettino's response was of, dude, great, just shoot it down. Get rid of the distractions. Just play the game. He goes, that's how I would want to be managed. Just Pochettino doesn't give a shit about all that extra stuff. And what is one thing that turns off a lot of fans in America is when the NBA got all super political. That turned a lot of fans off because they're there to watch sports. They're not there. The politics are the politics. That's its own separate issue. They want sports to eventually get away from all the extracurriculars that are going on in the country, because that's what they want to see. They can escape a little bit for a couple hours. That's what they want. And Wynalda is saying, let's keep the politics aside. Let's just play our game, because he later on says, there's a shot that we could win a World Cup. This is our best talent we've ever had. That's what he says later on in the video. He goes, we are starting to graduate into we are in that 2%. We can get those players. Look what they're doing overseas in the best leagues, the best competitions. We have a shot. Let's keep that stuff aside. That's what they need to do. That's basically what he was saying.
And I get the focusing in. I get the locking in on the goals and everything, and cutting down on distractions. But to somehow say that that's a political statement is wrong. And I get, okay, they have ticket prices and issues over in England or in Europe. That doesn't have anything to do with the World Cup. We're talking about the World Cup right now. And so if I'm Tim Weah, like, I don't want to shoot that down, though, because I don't necessarily see that as complaining. Now, it's one thing if he's complaining about playing time, or he's complaining about how Poach is coaching the team, or he's complaining about all Tim Weah is doing is standing up for the general American public that otherwise would have loved to come see World Cup games, but realize, again, they just simply can't afford tickets. They just simply can't come and afford to watch the games.
And Weah called it said it's going to be a show and everything. So I understand both sides. Weah stands up for the people like you and I. I get that. That. But Wynalda is saying, this is our best team that we've ever had. Let's keep the soccer. Let's focus on everything. Let's not embarrass ourselves in front of the whole world. And Wynalda said in '94, he goes, we just wanted to not embarrass ourselves. That's what he says. He goes, we wanted to make sure to the American public that we didn't suck. That's mainly what we wanted. And then he goes to fast forward to 2026. He goes, we have a shot to win a World Cup. He goes, we're not going to, but this is our best shot. Let's focus on it. Let's not talk about all the extra things. And he liked what this is why when Jack Lowry and I were talking last weekend, why Jose Mourinho would actually be a really good fit for an international manager, because they don't put up with shit like this. They don't. Mourinho had to deal with Ronaldo, and that's ultimately what kind of split the line between him and Ronaldo, is Mourinho didn't want to put up with all of his extra BS. Didn't want to. Yeah. Told Ronaldo how it was, and Ronaldo didn't like that. That's why Ronaldo's kind of a crybaby as it is anyway. But that is ultimately, Poch and Mourinho are there. They're from the out. They're out. I'm not saying Mourinho is the manager, but Poch, the outside managers, they come in. They don't put up with anything. They're laser focused on the task at hand. Let's not embarrass ourselves in front of the world. Let's make a deep run in this World Cup. What everyone else has to say, don't really care. Let's just focus on our game. Sure, it's a shut up and dribble, maybe, but I mean, those are two different instances. One was about the national anthem, and one was about ticket prices. A little different, but
it's like, don't have an opinion, just play. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's
like I think he can still have an opinion. Yeah. And I still think he can have an opinion and play well. Like I don't think that those two things are separate. But I get what you're saying.
Weah did punch a dude at the last Copa America, so Weah does have a little. He might should. I guess a little probably bit should focus on himself, his play a little bit more instead of punching dudes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
maybe
ultimately gets Berhalter sacked. So, I mean, was it a positive? I guess, but no, that's all it is.
I guess he helped us out.
That's what a lot of the older players have issues with in all the other sports is of having it is. They're like, well, when we did it was just let's just play the game, let's compete. It's not everyone's buddy on every team that you play against. Your opponent's not buddy. Let's go out there and play. Now the modern athlete is there for the business side. Like they're there. They want to boost their brand. Why do you think so many players have shoe deals or clothing brands or they're teamed up with some sports drink or some water or something?
Because they realize that most players go broke out of the league in a couple of years. Gotta build their money, build their portfolio.
And let's also not think that Weah didn't just say something to, he could have been boosting himself up a little bit just to say something outlandish. I shouldn't say not something outlandish, but Weah may have said something to get himself some spotlight.
If you're cutting down on distractions, though, why allow them to do podcasts? Why allow them to do radio hits or TV hits or anything along those lines? I mean, that's something that's outside of soccer, right? That's something that's outside of. Because the thing is that what Tim Weah said doesn't, in my mind, create any issues within the locker room. It doesn't create any issues within the team. So that's why I guess I don't necessarily take issue with it. But I know we need to take a break. We are past the 10 o'clock hour. Again, we do have Evan Stockton coming up on the show, but we're going to get into our all sports content on the other side. Expecting to talk to Ev here shortly, but we'll step aside here for a moment and be right back. You're watching Inside the Game.
Whoa. You got to tell us about FC Barcelona.
FC Barcelona, thank you, sir, is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I see my son grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca camp.
Time for the all sports content here on Inside the Game, hour number 2 on episode 230. Nate Wangler back alongside Ryan Glinsky for this one today. Getting into the All-Star festivities over the weekend. The NBA having their All-Star game, and Pistons royalty taking home the All-Star championship. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren. Was that the Stripes team or that was Stripes, right? The team that they were on, I believe, that ended up winning that one. So they end up taking it home. And the laughs continue around the NBA dunk contest and everything else that happens in and around the actual games themselves. Ryan, you used the word abolished on our prep sheet last week. Yeah, I think it's about time that the NBA dunk contest ceases to exist. Throughout the course of my life, I have seen very few things end so sadly and so tragically. But I believe the NBA dunk contest might be there, because I remember days where, I used to see Zach LaVine dunk from the free throw line. Windmill from the free throw line. I saw Aaron Gordon jump over a mascot and put it underneath both of his legs. Aaron Gordon was just the nastiest dunker of all time. I saw Blake Griffin jump over a freaking car once. And obviously who could forget Vince Carter, the legend of the dunk contest himself. I don't think the athleticism has gone away from our game. I still think there are NBA players who are capable, but they just don't care anymore. They don't care about the dunk contest. It's not something they want to do. They don't want to risk injury. And again, this stretches beyond just the dunk contest when it comes to not giving 100%. I thought this weekend was better than what it has been, but it's still not going to be what everybody wants it to be. I think we have to start tampering our expectations about all-star games in the future.
To be honest with you, in the dunk contest specifically, I didn't know who half the players were. And the only reason I knew who Jace, and I bet you a lot of the people didn't know who Jace Richardson was. The only reason you and I know who that guy is because he played at Michigan State. That is the only reason. If you're a Big Ten fan, it's the only reason why you know Jace Richardson. If you're a pure NBA fan, you don't know who that guy is. I'm sorry. But when you have him, who, again, Jace Richardson has really good jumps for his size, but it ain't anything special in terms of overall dunking. Jackson Hayes just ran down and did a one-handed dunk. Jace Richardson dunks off the side of the backboard. Like, it's just stupid. And, like, do people care about it? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And to the All-Star game, sure, it's a good idea, but, like, did people really watch it? I don't know. I don't know the views, but I didn't watch it at all. I didn't watch a single second of any All-Star weekend at all this weekend. It's just stupid. And you've got to get rid of I think just get rid of it all. Or what you do is we talked about it earlier, where you create a 4 nations type where you have USA, Canada, France, and Serbia on there. But honestly, Germany's not that bad either. So, I mean, they won the last World Cup, so I guess maybe you have them too. But anyway, the point is I think you just turn it into that, because I talked about this conversation with my dad about, representing the country. Like, hockey, I think, cares about representing their country a lot more than, most sports, I guess, because you don't get to do it very often. You get to do it maybe 4 nations in the Olympics. NBA, you have the World Cup, but most of the big guys don't even play in the World Cup. And then you have the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's really about it. The only time you get the big American basketball players to play in these things is when they after like a decade or so, like 12 years of after like all the big guys show up in it, they're like, until we lose at it, then we come back at it, and then we come back and play. But that's not the point. But you just get rid of the whole weekend. It's stupid. The whole round robin thing was dumb. Like, just get rid of it. And they had a perfect idea of the world versus the U.S. They had a perfect idea, and they just made it stupid, like I said on Friday. That's what it was. And just get rid of the whole thing. It's just a joke. If you're going to keep All-Star Weekend, have something on the line. Maybe have some home court advantage in the NBA Finals, and you go back to East and West. Maybe you just put money on the line. But it's just a dumb product. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I agree. Maybe just make it world versus the U.S. and that's it. Don't feel like you have to split it up or divide it up or make it into the just kind of odd format that we saw this year. By the way, to respond to what your numbers were yesterday, 4.7 million viewers. That is a 13% drop from 2024. That's big. It is also the second lowest ever viewed All-Star game on record, despite high-scoring competitive reforms. AI. The game continues to struggle to attract large audiences compared to over 10 million viewers, obviously back in the early 2000s. So a number of people has not only been cut in half, it's actually been cut in half by more than half. And the reality is that when I was watching it the other day, there's one thing that we can't fix about all of this. USA versus the world, and watching the highlights from the game yesterday, it looked a little more competitive than what the game was last year in 2024. Like, there was a little bit more, Wembanyama had a couple of blocks. There were a few fouls, a few and ones, but for the most part, it was pickup basketball. It was another example of another All-Star game with more pickup basketball, and it just had that kind of vibe to it, the way the players moved. And this is the one thing that we can't change, is that if there isn't something on the line, if it doesn't affect the regular season, if it doesn't affect them getting another contract or contract extension or going out and winning an NBA championship, the best of the best don't care about playing a mid-season exhibition for other people's entertainment. They don't care about going 100% for a game that has nothing on the line. To your point, Ryan, you want to make the All-Star game mean something? Put something on the line. Put something on the line, and not necessarily money, because they don't need the money. Like, they got plenty of it. Extra $1 million, okay, maybe a pot or something. But the NBA, if you want the All-Star game to mean something, and you don't want to do what I think the majority of people think you should do, which is just get rid of the damn thing, you have to put something on the line. Because if I'm an NBA player,
what are you putting on the line?
Keep in mind, I don't know. What are you putting on the line?
I thought you had.
What are you putting on the line?
I said home court advantage.
Okay,
that's what I said for the NBA.
So, like,
Finals,
baseball once upon a time. Okay.
But I thought you had like some crazy some crazy take there. Like you were gearing up towards it, like you had
I
something.
know, and I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't know, because I wanted to say money, but money doesn't really that doesn't I don't think that would really push anyone to try any harder, because they already got $8 billion anyways.
I thought you had something.
A trip to Disney World? I don't know.
that
I mean,
ain't
something like
They
that.
could afford that in a heartbeat. That's why I think ultimately you just.
But I
get
think
rid
an
of the whole
international
thing.
I think an international competition would be great.
Exactly.
I think like having national teams play each other in a tournament style thing, and even if you need to expand it to like Major League Baseball has an entire week for their All-Star festivities. Like they take an entire week off. Well, why can't you do that in the NBA and make an international style competition where all the different countries play each other? And now it actually means something. I mean, it's almost kind of like the World Cup in a way, but it's just like the NBA is sponsoring it, and National Basketball Association. If your focus is to continue to expand and expand and expand and make this game more popular, that's how you do it. You have national teams come in and you play against the NBA's best from the United States. And even if you have to get guys from outside of the NBA, I don't know what legally that looks like, and you probably would have to take them away from their respective clubs, but it would mean a lot. It would mean a lot to these countries.
So the only issue is some of these, like the U.S. team is going to have 13 Hall of Famers on it. That's what it'll be. That's just a fact. So they could absolutely get out of the NBA season because the NBA has a stopping point. That's why I think you just take 2 weeks off and you do this little tournament. Yeah, France has got a lot of NBA guys. Canada's got a lot of NBA guys. And then Serbia, you got Jokic and Bogdanovic and Vucevic. But
it wouldn't be considered an all-star weekend, though. I mean, you can have your all-star festivities,
but the NHL
but the
got rid of
games
all-star weekend for the Four Nations.
That's exactly. Yeah,
So
it's exactly.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the world versus NBA All-Stars that are American. No, what you do is you just create the Four Nations, but for basketball you might have to expand it a little bit because there's some other, good basketball nations. Germany is one of them as the fifth. The sixth, can't really think of which one would be the sixth. Maybe Spain.
Australia.
Maybe Australia. I haven't seen Australia in the basketball stage in a while, so I couldn't tell you.
Josh Giddey?
That guy's mid. Regardless. Ben Simmons is going to make a comeback. Oof. But no, you just make a Four Nations. I think ultimately you have to have 5 because you can't not have the FIBA World Cup champions in there. Like that's just, and you have Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, Schroeder on there. You have to have them in there. So maybe you just do 5. You do a round robin play or something, and then you just break it down to a semifinals and in a final. One team gets eliminated or something. I don't know, but I think ultimately that you have to just get rid of it, do hockey, but knowing the NBA, they're going to try to be the smartest guy in the room, and that's why a lot of people get turned off from that league sometimes, is because there's so many different changes and there's so many different things going on, and you have yesterday, great idea, USA versus World. Now let's do round robin because it's the NBA. Adam Silver in the NBA just tries to be too smart at certain points. That's why people get turned off by the league so much because you can't keep up with it half the time. Explaining the world or explaining the midseason tournament's confusing in itself.
And it's just do something new. That's honestly, in my mind, that's all you have to do in order to attract people to watch the game. Because I remember when they went to the format of let's have Bron and Steph choose their own teams. Let's have them go to their respective side and choose their teams. That All-Star game that year, now that was, I don't know if that was back in 2016, 2017. I don't know when they first started doing that. But that All-Star game, that first one took off. People actually enjoyed it. The last 2 minutes of that All-Star game felt like a playoff game. And I remember watching that, and I'm like, wow, it's the best of the best, and they're just banging home shots left and right. But that idea it wore out its welcome. Right. And so you come up with the new idea. But that's the thing, is that all you have to do is just come up with something drastic and new. And chances are NBA fans, basketball fans are going to cling to it. I think something like the Four Nations would, again, I think it would bring all of it to a new level.
But I would say,
I don't know, create a full court shot competition. Just have people heave full court shots until someone makes it. I don't know.
The only issue is I think the NBA has too big of an ego to do the Four Nations thing.
Oh, way too big.
It's
way too big.
Because
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to do it, and it's going to be, oh, you just copied hockey. Hockey just did it. But you know what? A lot of things in this world are just cheating off the other person's paper and eventually, like, make it your own. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't care that it's the NHL's idea. I don't care.
Yes.
I would much rather just watch it. Like, I don't know how many views the gold medal match for France, but it's got to be a lot. That got, 19 million views and peaking at 22.7 million in the final quarter. There you go.
Yeah.
So from 4 million to 20 million. Why? Because it's the international game. It's the world game. Why do we always bring up around Super Bowl time? Why do soccer fans always bring up the World Cup final views versus the Super Bowl views? Because it's the world stage. Everybody wants to see the world champion be crowned. Why do people watch the gold medal in the Olympics? Like, I bet you if it's USA versus Canada in the gold medal round, whenever that is for hockey, I bet you that gets 20 million views plus.
And they want to prove that their game is better than the National Basketball Association. Their game is better than the way we play our game. And that's the fascinating part about, even when we go into these FIBA competitions or even the Olympics, the rules are different, and the way the game is played and the way the game is refereed is a little bit different. There's certain things that you can't get away with that you get away with in the NBA that you can't get away with in those international competitions. So I think for Europe in a lot of situations, it's also just proving that their game is better than ours. The way they play is better than ours. For Canada, I mean, that rivalry would be great to see. I mean, could you imagine if you had Dylan Brooks out there mixing it up with like Jalen Duren? USA, Canada, and like
they did in the Olympics. So they typically choke.
They do.
But no, it'd be great. I would agree. I agree with you. It'd be great, but they can't choke like they normally. They're flexing in the gold medal documentary of we have the second most NBA players. Well, when Trey Lyles is on your team, you can't really flex that. The kid sucks. But anyway, 16 million total North American viewers for the Four Nations final between USA and Canada, 9.3 just in America alone. So,
and to be honest with you, I think basketball would blow it away.
It would. 100% it would.
Yeah.
We just saw what the gold medal was. What the gold medal final was. And we joked about everyone jokes about Jokic and the horses and how he cares more about a bronze medal than an NBA championship. Well, we get Jokic to care again. Arguably the best player in the NBA. We get to
he would care more about that than the NBA championship.
That's exactly.
He would genuinely probably care more about that.
So he gets to care again. And we get the because what was always the biggest drawback about American basketball players playing in the Olympics in the summers? Because we just wanted rest, man. Like we just had a grueling NBA season. Like the gold medal did not care to the U.S. as much as it did to the other ones. So instead is you keep it in America, you put it in New York or something or L.A. whatever you want to do, and you don't have them travel anywhere. They just stay in one spot. They travel, and then guess what? It's during the NBA season, so. They don't have, so it doesn't it doesn't break up their off season. It doesn't make them play even more. So they still get that off season rest that they normally have. But for most players, they still get a 2-week break. And some players, they get to compete in for their country. So ultimately, that's the idea. But the issue is NBA's got so much of an ego that this won't happen because it's the NHL came up with it first, so we can't do it. But when you are starting to guide your viewers, when you're trying to guide your business model to the and go towards the international fans, because let's be honest, that's what the NBA and the NFL are doing. They're putting it more towards the international, which again is the stupidest thing in the world because you're taking it away from the die-hard fans. And just do what soccer does. They do all their preseason on the road, and then they play all their regular season games at home. Just do that. Just get rid of it. But instead, the NBA and NFL is too stupid. But you want to guide that towards them? This is a way to do it. You bring in the international teams. And I guess the only there's two issues, I guess, because, France and Serbia, they don't have all NBA teams. They have a lot of players that play for their pro team, their club team, pro team, whatever they call it over there. So you have to drag them away. So maybe you just take a whole 2-week hiatus. But that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And in the reality, and kind of like the Pro Bowl, if you say, hey, you are a Pro Bowler, but you don't have to play in the Pro Bowl, okay, fine. Like, you're telling me I don't have to play? Like, I'm thinking about players like Giannis, from Greece.
Ooh, I forgot about them.
Would they be a part of the competition? Like Giannis, like they're not that great. So like, what do you do with a player like Giannis, or what do you do with a player like Luka Doncic? Like Slovenia is not that good, but obviously he's great. So there's some gray area and some other things that would have to be worked out in terms of, you also have like South Sudan in there. You got a couple of players where it's like, I don't know, like of course, it was an exhibition when they competed against the U.S., but
is there FIBA? There are FIBA rankings. Okay, so USA 1, Germany 2, Serbia 3, France 4, Canada 5, Australia 6, Spain 7, 8, Argentina 9, Lithuania 10, Brazil. Yeah, Greece is 13, Slovenia is 14.
Yeah.
So
like, what do you do with a player like Giannis?
South Sudan is 24. He just doesn't play. Sorry,
yeah,
man.
That's what I hope
Like,
would. Yeah, he would just. He's just like, okay, I'm okay with getting the tag of an all-star, but not,
so
not
maybe,
actually competing.
Maybe you do. You take 8 teams, 2 groups of 4, top 2 teams from each one play in the semifinal. They play in the final. And again, basketball's not as taxing of a sport as hockey is, so you can do that. So maximum you're playing 3. You're maximum playing 5 games, 5 extra games. Everyone's still playing 3. Some play 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out. But that's what I would do. I would take 2 groups of 4, 8 teams, top 8 teams in the FIBA rankings, I guess. Because to be quite honest with you, those only 4 of them are truly good. 5 of them are truly good. And you take those 8 round robin. Play 3 games, top 2 teams in each division. They go up, semifinal, and then 2 days later they do the final. I don't know about the money aspect. I couldn't tell you that. But that is going to create the All-Star weekend. You take the 2-week hiatus instead, and a lot of players get rest. Because what's another big issue in the NBA come playoff time? Lots of injuries. Lots of players get the overuse injuries. So you give most of these players a 2-week break. Maybe not the best players don't get that, but they're the best players for a reason. And they take the 2-week hiatus. And you also preserve some injuries. I think it's the greatest idea that this show could ever come up with. But it's just up to the NBA's ego, and it's up to the international teams. Some of their players that don't play in the NBA, can they actually be on the national team? Can they get away from their pro teams in their respective countries? That is just the only issue.
Well, and if they get at this quickly enough, I'm sure they'd be able to figure it out, because I don't see any country turning down an opportunity to come here and compete and potentially beat the United States if it's sponsored by the NBA. Especially if it's an NBA competition. Could you imagine? Could you imagine a team making a run? I don't know. So,
like we talked
about, it would be up there.
We talked about with the U.S. men's soccer team that they don't have many opportunities to play the best. Well, these countries don't have many opportunities to play the United States in basketball outside of the Olympics every 2 years they get a chance to play them. And even in the FIBA World Cup, they don't even play the best. It's only the Olympics that they play the best in. So
Can you imagine if the Prem had something like this? They're like, bring the U.S. over to compete against the best international sides for sponsored
they play the
All-Star
MLS
weekend.
All-Stars. I'm sure that's a great
Liga
feature.
MX. Yeah, exactly. But Evan Stockton coming up here shortly. I did want to tell you guys a little bit about Man City, though. We'll take a step aside. We'll come back. We'll get Evan on here in a little bit, expecting him here in just a few. But Man City soccer camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30. Again, that's MCNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you, usacamps.mancity.com. Yes, back live here on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. Ryan, you said we were going to get to a couple of comments here before we get Evan Stockton into the fold.
Yeah, I created this video for this exact reason yesterday. Thought maybe we get some comments, make a video on it, and get a couple of comments. Basically, I just said, did people think the NBA All-Star Game was good? A couple people did say it was good. And then this guy from Randy Jones said this one was actually pretty entertaining. Kawhi went nuts in the second game, which was sick. Last game was a blowout, though. Again, couldn't really tell what it was or not. But this is from King BM. He says the format is dumb. Wemby was the best player, but because his team lost, we didn't get to see him at the end. East versus West, regular game, please. So some people want to go back, but it's like they change so many times. It's like I don't even know what's going on half the time.
And it's like, okay, cool. They made a couple of moves. There were a few defensive plays that were made, but I also saw a replay of like the ball was going out of bounds and like Jamal Murray like held it up for an opposing player so he could take it and the play would continue. Like it's just pickup ball. It's just YMCA ball. I mean, even more so than what it normally is. Like we have an issue with how the normal games are played. Like yeah. The All-Star game is going to be that plus some. So that's what we saw more of yesterday. Like if a guy drives in for a dunk, no one's going to get in his way. No one's going to challenge him. No one's going to knock him over. No one's going to block it. Like this is not competitive basketball. And I don't think we can ever get to that point. Like the idea of USA versus the world is great, but I don't see that happening, and especially in an East versus West format. What we just go back to what we were doing.
I saw effort. This was a success coming from Eric. Let's see. Haven't watched any of this in 5 years or so. I said same here, my friend. This one coming from a beast potato. Haven't watched the NBA in like 8 years. All-Star stuff has been dead for years. NBA is a boring league until the conference finals. Salary rules are out of control. Draft pick imbalances are ridiculous. Major stars moving in dumb trades. It is just a bad product.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you could make that argument. I think the style of play has certainly turned a lot of people off. I think the league is fundamentally changing in a lot of ways. And so I can certainly see all those reasons, especially when it comes to, I do think if there's one league that more than any of the others in the United States manufactures parity, I think the National Basketball Association is that and then some. I think they like their teams. I think they like their stars. I think they try to create, evil and create superheroes and supervillains. So I think the NBA is certainly guilty of that.
For sure, I would agree.
Trying to get Evan into the mix here in a little bit, so we will have him on here shortly. Again, broadcaster for ESPN. Really good story too. And I'm looking forward to chatting with him more and more. But you want to take a commercial break here, really quick?
Yeah, let's take a quick commercial break. All right, we'll
let's take a break then. We'll be right back.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today. Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
Letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
whether it's a championship win or a legendary play.
Welcome back in on Inside the Game, episode 230 here on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. And Ryan, I believe we have a guest joining us here on 230. First time on Inside the Game, Evan Stockton stopping by here on the National Soccer Network here shortly.
Last one. Sorry, I forgot to add him in the call. There, Adam. There
No,
we go.
you're
there
good.
We go. Sorry.
All right.
There we go. Sorry about that, Adam. We apologize.
Welcome in.
But
What's
thank you
up,
for
my
being
man?
on today.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Welcome in. That's not a bad little spot you got there. That's actually a good. You should have your own show. You got the March Madness and the Detroit and everything behind you there. That's good. That's looking good.
Thank you. So very quick story on the March Madness. So when I was a college student, I went to Syracuse University. In my senior year, we were covering the NCAA tournament for our student radio station. And it actually happened to be at home at Little Caesars Arena, which was very cool. And Syracuse played Michigan State. And we won, which I bring up to all my friends who went to Michigan State.
I love that game.
Unfortunately, our basketball team is struggling again this year, and we're not going to make the tournament for like the fourth straight year. So it's all I have left over my state fans is, hey, remember that one time we beat you? That was a lot of fun. But this March Madness thing behind me was we were the last game at Little Caesars Arena. Me and my buddies are walking out of Little Caesars Arena, and they put up all this branding at the arenas, right? Posters, and this is like a foam, I don't know, technically like styrofoam something. And we're walking out and we're looking at all this stuff and they're about to throw it away. And one of my buddies goes, can we just take stuff? They're like, yeah, we're just throwing it away. We don't care. So yeah, this was literally grabbed at one of the doors as we were walking out of Little Caesars Arena. So pretty cool.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you stopping by the show, getting to talk a little bit about your story. Obviously, congratulations on doing games with ESPN now and making that leap. I wanted to first touch on this a little bit, maybe get it out of the way. You do a lot of games at Western. Obviously, I got to stop down and see you the other year, that game against Georgia Southern. We have a Central Michigan grad on the other side of the screen. So let you guys hash that out a little bit. You know, I know there's a little bit of tension there, but Ryan, you got anything for our good friend Evan and on the CMU Western front?
All I'll say is we need more CMU representatives on this show. I got
Oh,
roasted
come
by
on.
Lewis Robinson a couple months ago for apparently not getting into Western. I didn't even apply there, but he was roasting me, and I need some reinforcements on it. But no, Western they put on a good product, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I guess. No, go ahead.
No, it's funny you brought up Lewis Robinson. So, yeah, I've been doing the ESPN broadcast at Western Michigan since I graduated college. So, however long that's been, I'm coming up on 6-7 years now. And Lewis Robinson is one of the best people I've met over there. And I've met a lot of very smart, driven people who have made Western Michigan athletics very, very successful. And I'm not just saying that because I work there. Their success up and down right now is outstanding. Their hockey team is literally the defending national champions. But Lewis Robinson did an amazing job very quickly with that women's soccer program of identifying we've got a lot of talent locally here. We may as well maximize it. We may as well go after it, and taking that local talent and combining it with a bunch of transfers. Yeah, the women's soccer program at Western Michigan is really, really good. So it's been fun to cover that since he's been there. Yep.
I will say, since CMU did not have a men's soccer program and they only have women's, and two of my high school soccer teammates were on the men's side, Carson and Tanner Hodgson, the two twins. Basically, I was the bottom of the midfield three, and I basically just gave them the ball and they cooked and did their own thing. And so I have listened to you a couple times in the playoff games. I remember I watched the snow game last year. I don't remember who they played, but I remember that game. But I will say I did root for Western men's soccer because my teammates were on the team. So I will give him that. I talked with Jalen Buckley this past year at Mac Media Day.
Yeah.
He was a fun conversation to have with. So there is a couple good Western people in there. I'll say majority no, but there are a couple good ones.
It's nice to know.
Evan,
Nice to know there's a couple fit in there. That's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
That's very good.
Just a handful. Evan, I did want to ask you, because I know that you just mentioned capitalizing on the pipeline here in the state of Michigan and getting that local talent to really help out the soccer program, specifically the women's soccer program. And Lewis Robinson did mention the importance of that. Do you think that's the biggest reason that's led to Western Michigan's kind of sports renaissance that's going on right now? I mean, what is it about the athletics department that they're doing that's leading to this wide sweeping success? I think in a lot of ways that's led by the hockey program and kind of what they've done.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like anything. It all starts from the top. So, I'm a huge Lion fan. Unfortunately, the Lions weren't very good for a long time because at the
Right.
top, the ownership, the people making the decisions weren't doing the decisions they made weren't the correct ones. Well, the last couple of years, a new regime has come in. They've been entrusted to make decisions, and they've done a very good job. At Western Michigan, the same thing has happened. Dan Bartholomew, the athletic director, has done an outstanding job with the people he has hired and brought into the program. And he's also entrusted them to lead the programs, and then he's gotten the heck out of the way. So, the people he's brought in recently, we brought up the women's soccer program and Lewis Robinson. On the women's basketball front, Kay Doctor, their team this year, basically half the team has gotten injured. They had so many injuries, they had to take a player from the volleyball team, move her to the basketball team. And she's not just sitting at the end of the bench in case they need her. She actually plays every single game. She's like the first big off the bench. It's craziness. But Kate's done a great job. We'll see if they end up making the MAC tournament in 3 weeks now. It's crazy that college basketball is that close to the end. But she's done a great job. So Dan's done a very good job with that. Yes, A. But B, Western Michigan has identified, hey, we're on the west side of Michigan. There's a lot of big, very successful athletic high schools within an hour driving distance of us. Mm-hmm. And also, we've got this great access. We're essentially halfway between Detroit and Chicago. So if we can go down to the Metro Detroit area, pluck some talent, we can go down to Greater Chicago and pluck some talent. It'll work. So, and yet the hockey team is an unreal story at Western Michigan. The fact that a school like Western Michigan with a home rink that seats less than 4,000 people can compete with the Michigan State's, Boston Universities, these types of schools is pretty remarkable. And that's a direct credit to Pat Ferschweiler, their head coach. Fersch is a great dude. I don't know how long he's going to be there. They're getting a brand new rink in a couple of years. Maybe that'll entice him to stick around, but Fersch is already interviewed for NHL jobs. So, when that carrot is put in front of you, how long will you stay? But however long he's there, and hopefully the infrastructure he has built, Western Michigan hockey going forward. But to simply answer your question, it all starts with the top. And Dan Bartholomew and his leadership group have done a really nice job of identifying smart people to get the job at Western Michigan. That's what they're doing.
Evan, I came across a tweet of yours this summer, and I'm sure you kind of understand what tweet that I'm going to be talking about. And it's about your journey. And it's the John Hamm quote, and I absolutely loved it. And obviously, you got your new arena football gig this year, which congrats to you. Then you had the ESPN college football start as well this year, and that's ultimately where your tweet came from. And I really think the tweet is impactful. But for the people who do not know what the tweet is about John Hamm, his quote, explain what it is and how that has impacted you and kind of helped you on your broadcast journey.
Sure. So, I don't mean to toot my own horn when I say this, but I think I did most things right in terms of my broadcast career journey. I'm a third generation. I went to Detroit Catholic Central. You may have heard of that high school. It's a very successful high school in Metro Detroit. My papa went there. My dad went there. My uncle went there. Me and both my brothers went there. And then I got into the broadcasting club there, and I went to Syracuse, which is the big broadcasting school to go to. And I did all these things, and I climbed the ranks, and everyone was telling me there that I was going to do a great job when I got in the real world. And I just naively assumed, I'll graduate, and I'm the best guy at Syracuse, and ESPN's going to hire me tomorrow, right? That's how it works. It's not how it works. So, when I dove in and I fully identified, hey, I want to be a network guy because, I consider probably football and hockey my two favorite sports, but I truly enjoy doing a little bit of everything. And the best way to do that in our line of work in the play-by-play sphere is getting a network gig. So, to what you're bringing up, one of my favorite TV shows is Mad Men, and the leader of that show, the top actor, was John Hamm. And he tells a story about how, hey, when he moved out from St. Louis, I think he was 24, 25 years old, he was going to give acting a full-time shot. And he told himself he was going to do it until he was 30. He was never going to say no. He was going to take as many opportunities as he could. And if at 30 he didn't feel like he was where he wanted to be, he'd go back to St. Louis. Like me, he went to a all-boys private school in St. Louis. He's like, I'll go be a teacher there, and I think I'll still be happy, but I got to give this a shot. And then he picked his head up when he was 30. He was working on his first big film set, and he thought, okay, I think I'm going to do this. So I did the same thing, and I did minor league baseball for 10 years. I was going back and forth between springs and falls back home here in Michigan, and then summers in Syracuse. I went back there to work for the AAA team for 3 years. I was in Memphis, Tennessee 1 year. I was Fort Wayne, Indiana 1 year. I was all over the place. And there were a lot of times, lonely car rides, plane flights back and forth, where I'm going, is this leading to anything? Like, well, I'm working so hard. I'm reaching out to a gazillion people. I'm sending all these emails, making all these phone calls, trying so hard to find that little edge that makes me different from every other, Joe and Sheila out there who's competing with me. Is it leading to anything? And then this summer, I was fortunate to be added to the ESPN college football announcing roster. And I opened up the first email of the first couple assignments, and I was calling a game on my 30th birthday, which just so happened to be at Western Michigan, which is one of the places I've worked since I graduated. So, yeah, Ryan, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been, to be honest with you, stunned that so many people saw that tweet and resonated with it, because I think I tweeted it out at like the first quarter or something. I'm like, you know how it is. Like, I'm doing an event. I should probably put it out there. And I tweeted it out. And I was doing the game, so I didn't look at my phone. And then I looked at my phone after. I'm like, I'm going viral. What is going on here? Like, Dick Vitale replied to the tweet. It was very odd, right? Dick Vitale is best
Did he
college
go, it's
basketball.
magnificent, baby? Did he do that?
I know, the greatest college basketball announcer who's ever lived, and he's sitting in his palatial estate, wherever that may be, looking at my silly little tweet. So, but I'm glad you brought it up. And what I hope people realize is, maybe from the outside, people saw what I was doing and they're like, oh, Evan's got it made and he did X, Y, and Z. And I never felt that way. 98.9% of the time, I still don't feel that way, even though I get to do some really cool opportunities, and hopefully, things will keep progressing and I'll keep doing that. So I just wanted people to understand that this is really hard. People you may think have got it all going on, they don't. And at the end of the day, keep pushing, keep grinding, do what makes you eventually happy. And also know that there are a lot of people in the industry who feel the exact same way as you. And we can't reveal it because we live in an online world where everyone's going to put the best version of themselves of Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever the heck it's called now. But that's why I put it out there. It's like, hey, this is what I worked hard on. Absolutely, I'm proud of where I'm at, but also anyone who may seize this, know that it was never perfect. It will remain not to be perfect. And we're all similar in this. And yeah, to your point, Ryan, I probably close to 100 people have let me know they saw that and they appreciated it. And I was stunned because I just put it out and I didn't think much of it. And here we are. So I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you.
Of course.
And to the people that are watching our show that might have interest in doing something similar to what you're doing, I heard the line once upon a time from a mutual contact of ours, Dan Hasty, obviously, who I do the minor league games with. But he said that, sometimes it pays to be lucky more than good, but you have to create your own luck in the industry. And you do that by sticking around and by being persistent. How important is availability for those who are chasing this dream?
So this is going to sound like really harsh. Talent is less than 0.5% in this industry. It matters. You have to know what you're doing. and I would never name names, of course, but you look around the industry and you see who's doing some opportunity or something, you go, how'd that happen? How'd they get that opportunity? And, where I went to college, it was a blessing and it was a curse because it was a great broadcast school. I learned so much, the foundation of things I still use to this day, what I will use on the air during my Western Michigan Akron men's basketball broadcast tomorrow night, I learned in college. But at Syracuse, the best people called the games. Like our whole goal as a senior class was, by the time you were a senior, to get the opportunity to go cover Syracuse Duke at Cameron Indoor, or cover Syracuse Clemson football, or Syracuse Notre Dame football. And then I got in the real world and realized that's not how it works at all. What happens is connections and timing and fit and who you know and when you know them. So to Dan's point, what does that all mean as you're trying to climb up the industry? And sure, you may see some game and somebody doing something somewhere and going, well, how the heck did that happen? You'll never know the full reason. And that didn't truly sink into me until I started getting similar opportunities. And I realized that a lot of this, is big, dumb luck. Like I worked so hard to this and meet a connection and follow up with someone, and then I got the opportunity. And sometimes it was just, hey, I'm local. Or, hey, I may work for a little cheaper than somebody who's got a wife and 3 kids and may need on the game check than I may need. So creating your own luck is certainly that. But it is most important, again, going back to we live in an online world. If you can do somebody doing something else, and you may look at somebody doing some opportunity and going, how'd they get that? I think I'm better than them. That's another thing to remember is that this is all subjective. I can flip on a game and think he or she is worse than me. But guess what? If the hiring person thinks he or she is better than me, they're getting the job and I'm not. So the ultimate lesson is if you get the opportunity to work and you get the opportunity to try this craft, be darn proud and happy you have that opportunity. Dive into it. Treat everything like it's the biggest thing in the world because it is to you. You're getting the opportunity to work. And hopefully something comes of it. But even if it doesn't, which I like the first couple years out of school, I would go into events and think, I'm going to kill this. And then I'm going to be working for Fox Sports next week. But I had to reach out and go like, no, I'm very proud of these opportunities. I'm going to continue working hard and maybe it'll lead to something. Hopefully it will. But the odds probably tell me it will not. But guess what? I can eventually get to that level if I am not fully diving into what I am doing now. And I did not do that before. And I still don't do it 100% all the time now. Nobody's perfect, but I'm getting a lot better at it. So to Dan's point, you make your own luck by diving into everything you're doing, treating it like it's Game 7 of the World Series or the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup final or the World Cup final, whatever the case may be. And hopefully something comes from it.
Absolutely.
Of course, we just hinted at a little bit ago about your new arena football gig. Explain the league to the people who don't know, where people can watch it. What type of a league is it? Yeah,
so you guys may have grown up watching arena football. I grew up playing the video game, which is a lot of fun. So it's a lot of fun. And this league is the similar concept. The Arena Football League is people may have watched it in the past, doesn't exist anymore. And the Indoor Football League, which I'm going to be part of their broadcast team starting this season, which actually starts in a little less than a month, which is pretty crazy. This league is the fastest growing, fastest version of football that you will find. It is tremendously accessible to the fan. People will be able to watch on Yahoo, their fast streaming platform. They're launching into streaming. It'll be available on all their streaming platforms. And there will be a weekly Sunday night game on the FanDuel networks where people currently watch the baseball, the basketball. That's where people will be able to watch. And it will be available on their website and all those sorts of things. So that's where it's accessible. But this league is basically an upgraded version of what arena football has always existed. Programs and locations that have been very important to the history of arena football, like the Iowa Barnstormers. That's the team that Kurt Warner played for. That this team is in that league. And there has been a huge monetary investment in the league within the last couple of years to continue to upgrade. There's a team in Las Vegas. The family that owns the Vegas Golden Knights, the hockey team, they own that. There's a team that just moved from Worcester, Massachusetts to Orlando, Florida. The family that owns the Orlando Magic owns the indoor football team in Orlando. So as this league is to continue to evolve and expand and grow, the next leap in that is, hey, they basically did one national game in the past. Now they're doing all national games. And what did that lead to is, hey, we're going to hire a whole bunch of people to do this. So they had some talented people involved in the league before that they decided to keep on. And then they decided to strategically go find younger talent who was doing events like I am at ESPN, doing MAC college football, Division II, Division III, FCS football playoffs, and go get some other guys. So I'm part of the younger contingent of play-by-play guys. There's a guy you may or may not know. His name's Alex Cohen. He fills in on Chicago Cubs TV broadcasts. He's going to be doing some things. A guy named Nate Gatter, who does Westwood One, college football, college basketball. He's going to be a part of it as well. There's a nice mix of, younger, up-and-coming sideline reporters, analysts, stuff like that as well. So it's really, really cool to be part of something that is growing. We were just on a group call with everybody 10 days ago, and you can see the investment, the passion that is involved in this, and how quickly people think it can go. And selfishly, I'm just excited to see what the heck it looks like. And we're going to be having sideline reporters literally interviewing people like right after they score a touchdown, and it's going to be up and down, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is basically the best version of arena football that has ever existed, and they're going all in. So I'm excited to be like a real little small part of it.
As someone who grew up watching Grand Rapids Rampage football at Van Andel Arena downtown, which was the most unhinged product you've ever seen in your life, I'm very much looking forward to what this league could potentially look like. I wanted to ask you one more quick question. I know Ryan's got one more to wrap us up here in our interview, but it is a broad question. What are you looking forward to the most in your broadcast career moving forward? Now that you've gotten onto ESPN, you've kind of crossed that off your list. I mean, what's the next goal?
I think sometimes it's dangerous in this time of work, in this line of work, to be like, I want to call the Super Bowl, because there are so many things that have to come into play. I said I'm not going to name names. I'll name you a name. And this is close to me because I went to school with his son, Noah Eagle, who just called the NBA All-Star game yesterday. Ian Eagle is a remarkably good play-by-play broadcaster. He is remarkably quick-witted. He is very, very good at the fundamentals. He does everything. He's done NBA basketball for the Brooklyn Nets. Now he's one of the voices of the NBA. He's the voice of the NBA for Amazon Prime. He's done everything. I won't name everything because I'll forget something he's done. He's never called a Super Bowl. At least maybe he's done it internationally. He's never done a Super Bowl here in the United States. He may never do it. Of course, that guy deserves to do it, right? So I don't want to put on myself like, hey, I want to call March Madness, and then for some reason or another, like I get signed to a contract with some network that doesn't have the rights to that, and I never get the chance to do it. So, what I'm looking forward in my career is seeing what's next. And I'm very, very proud of what I am doing now, what I have done before, my versatility. I think that is very, very enticing to employers, because they could send me to a hockey game in Boston, and then they could send me to a basketball game in San Francisco. And I like to think that I could cover both with ease and work with everybody. But I'm just excited to see where it goes. I think there's some excellent momentum. Like in any line of work, you need momentum. And I'm very, very proud of the momentum that I've created for myself. And I'm just excited to see where it goes from here. I'm sitting here, middle of February 2026. And if I told myself at this time last year, hey, you're going to start doing college football games for ESPN, you're going to start doing college basketball games for the Big East Conference, you're going to be, the lead guy for you're going to continue being the lead guy for the MHSA football and basketball finals, which is coming up very, very soon. That's
on the Inside the Game podcast.
Amen.
Most importantly.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen. So I'm just excited to see where it goes from here. And I want to keep taking it one day at a time and not get too high or not get too low. And the next thing on my brain is, hey, Western Michigan, Akron basketball tomorrow. Everyone's talking about Miami, Ohio in the MAC, but I actually think Akron is very comparable to Miami, Ohio, and I think Akron could also make some noise in the NCAA tournament if they get there. So that's the next thing on my mind.
Yeah, they are very good. Akron as well. Last question we ask everyone. If you could go to any concert to see any artist or band, dead or alive, who would it be?
So that's an easy. Well, can I cheat? Can I say two, or do I have to pick one? Okay. So my two favorite are Kenny Chesney and Bruce Springsteen. I don't know if you can see which way. I'm doing this wrong. That way. That is the poster of when Bruce Springsteen played at Little Caesars Arena. I grew up listening to Bruce. It was one of my mom's favorite artists. She would play him in the car all the time when we would drive to school. So I got to see Bruce finally in concert a couple of years ago, and now I've seen him a handful of times, which is a lot of fun. And Kenny Chesney is still, after all this time, probably my favorite country artist. I've seen him in concert several times, and his show is just a good time, man. It's the summertime. It's usually at a football stadium. It's warm. You've had a couple of cold beverages. And those are my two, is Bruce and Kenny Chesney. And they both put on a hell of a show. And they both have a lot of respect for each other. I just read Kenny Chesney's autobiography, and he spent like a whole chapter talking about how much he learned from watching Bruce Springsteen from afar. So
don't tease us with the warm weather days there, Evan.
I know, dude.
Warm weather concerts.
We got full spring outside right now, guys. Yeah. It's like going to be 50 something today, and we're probably getting like 3 blizzards in March. But
winter hasn't come yet.
There you go.
Bright days ahead. We appreciate you stopping by, though, my man. I know someday we're going to get the opportunity to call a game together, but I love watching you go, and congrats on all the success, and best of luck moving forward with everything.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. You have a good one.
Thanks, Evan.
Yes, sir. That's Evan Stockton here on Inside the Game.
Yeah,
good interview.
Yeah, it was great. But no, I loved his tweet about John Hamm. But no, I found him because I had to watch my high school buddies play in the NCAA tournament, and I was like, "Who's his voice?" Let me just drop him a follow real quick. And it was Evan. But we got question of the day to get into, which I completely forgot about until during that interview. And I was like, "Yeah." So I threw one up real quick.
All right.
This morning it was a little bit all over the place. So anyway, Salt Athletic, official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. And question of the day, save 15% by using promo code NSN15. Visit saltathletic.com today or scan that QR code. But if you don't want to do any of that and you want a chance to win a free one, head over to our Instagram right now, NatSoccerTV. Give us a follow, and on any of the national or any of the Salt Athletic giveaway posts, tag a friend and comment hashtag NSN Salt giveaway. But here's question of the day. Again, I made a TikTok video to this. The other one. So this is what saved me here. Question of the day. Ooh, that's loud. It's time. Thanks, Trevor, for keeping the knob up all the way. It's time to Is it time to panic for Michigan State basketball? My man, Trevor and Will over here turning up my stuff. Nah, I love them guys. I think they're great producers.
I think it's time to get a little concerned if I'm Michigan State basketball, simply because I don't know if Michigan broke them necessarily, but getting blown out by Wisconsin, I mean, that's a tough look. I know that's a decent Wisconsin team, but everything that's happened since then in the extracurriculars with Jeremy Fears and everything that's going on there, it's gotten messy. So I don't know if it's time to necessarily hit the self-destruct, the red button, but I do think it is time to really start kind of looking inwards, and that's on Tom Izzo. Listen, that's on Tom Izzo to get everybody back on the same page, because I still think they're a talented team, but it's also tough to be a top 10 team if there's no chance of you really going and winning a national championship, which I think a lot of people have already said this is not a national championship level Michigan State team. So that's just kind of my assessment of where they are right now.
Well, there's been a lot of not national championship basketball level teams at Michigan State. I'm just saying. But yeah, they're 3 games back from Michigan. I would say again, Wisconsin is like, they're a sleeper, man, because they've not only beaten Michigan State, killed Michigan State, they've also beaten Illinois earlier in that week, and then they beat Michigan, their lone loss. But I would say the seat is definitely getting a little warm. Not saying he's going to get fired, but I'm just saying in terms of this season to be a little bit concerned about, because they don't have a true go-to scorer outside of Jeremy Fears, and Jeremy Fears does a lot with, trying to create and assist and everything. I'd like to see Kohler step up a little bit more. Carson Cooper's looked a little bit unplayable at certain times. But what is the one thing that Michigan State does? They hang their hat on toughness, hustle, rebounding. They haven't been doing that in recent weeks. But if this continues for another week, then yeah, I think it's definitely time to hit the panic button. But it could also be the classic Tom Izzo February funk. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. But that wraps up episode 230. Thanks again for Evan Stockton for dropping by the show here on Inside the Game. Again, tomorrow, Alexi Lalas dropping by Inside the Game, his second appearance here on the show. And then Alexis Ayala and then JP Dellacamera coming up on Thursday. We're having all sorts of fun. And we got more coming up for you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. right here on Inside the Game.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff.